They called themselves the Vanguard of Dawn. When the rift appeared in Times Square, a tear in reality that smelled of ozone and wet soil, three legends descended. The sky turned an unsettling, necrotic purple above the skeletal skyscrapers. They stepped toward the smoking crater, not with fear, but with the weary confidence of men who had saved the universe countless times. But this time, the universe hadn't needed saving. It needed silence. The noise from the crater was not a threat, it was a whisper of absolute cessation, a quiet consumption of the soul. The first soldier's unbreakable will was the first to fracture. He dropped his shield, not in defeat, but because his hands were no longer his own. The armored visionary transmitted his final distress signal, a rapid, stuttering code. He was trying to warn the world about the cosmic dust, the gift from beyond the rift. But his suit was already failing, corrupted from within. Through the fog rising from the crater, he saw the towering shape of the Thunderer, impossibly large, now twisted into something hungry. Logan remembered the sound of their bones breaking, not his own, but the ones he'd been forced to shatter. He'd tracked them through the infected cities, an unstoppable antidote to an unbearable plague. But the fight had stolen more than just his breath. Crouched in the black rain, the regenerative healing felt like a cruel joke. He was the only one left to remember what they used to be. The news reports faded to static 2 weeks after the rift opened. The safe zones fell next. No one could stop the Titan when he aimed for the symbolic heart of their lost world. The once proud headquarters, a beacon of global protection, became a burning funeral pyre against the twilight sky. Ida had seen things that broke the boundaries of physics and reason, but nothing had broken him, like the realization that the people he loved were gone, not victims of villains, but erased by the silence the heroes had introduced. He sat amidst the ruin of his apartment, the sticky webbing on the walls now just dust. He couldn't be the friendly neighborhood anything anymore. There was no neighborhood left. Director Thorne, the man who had seen empires rise and fall, felt the cold realization settle deep in his gut. They hadn't failed to stop the threat. The threat was their best defense. On the helicarrier bridge, every sensor blazed crimson, screaming warnings of irreversible corruption. The system was eating itself, and he was watching the last flickering candlelight go out. The remaining threats weren't just the large, destructive ones. Sometimes they were infinitesimally small, until they decided not to be. The shifting man moved through the decaying districts, his laughter echoing when he swelled beyond measure, casting colossal, fleeting shadows over the forgotten brownstones. There was no longer any logic to their powers, only malicious, unchecked cruelty. They gathered in the ruins of the last bunker, the ones who were too broken, too lucky, or too stubborn to die. Director Thorne, Logan, Peter. They didn't speak of strategies or counterattacks. They spoke only in hushed, exhausted tones about what they were going to do when the food ran out, and who would be the last one left to turn off the lights. The heroes had saved the world so completely, there was nothing left for the rest of them. The world they had inherited was quiet. A beautiful, tragic stillness. There was no traffic, no laughter, no sirens. Only the wind whistling through the hollow shells of towers built on hope. The heroes had won the last war, but victory had meant total annihilation. The Earth was finally safe. And empty. The silence was absolute. Not a single bird cried, not a leaf rustled, not a human heartbeat. Only two sounds remained in the husk of the world: the grinding of wind over broken concrete, and the sound of dry, clicking teeth. Captain America sat beside Iron Man, their ragged uniforms clinging to skeletal frames. Their hunger was an ancient, aching void. For months, they had waited. They had consumed the last of the deep-sea life, the last stubborn fungus hiding beneath the ice. They were the apex predators with no more prey. Then, a light broke the perpetual shadow of the Earth's dead atmosphere. a perfect, shining signal of life arriving from the void. The Silver Surfer, the great cosmic herald, had brought tidings to 1,000,000 worlds. He had seen empires fall and stars burn out, but he had never seen a world so thoroughly consumed, so utterly dead. He paused over the scorched continents, confusion turning to sick dread. He felt the residual energy, a staggering dark echo of power. Before he could speak a warning or retreat, the shadows moved. They erupted from every crevice, every dark ruin, dozens of them, tattered remnants of glory, drawn by the scent of pure, clean life. The attack was instantaneous, overwhelming. The Herald's cosmic power, meant to traverse galaxies, was seized and devoured by the insatiable, corrupted heroes. There was a soundless, terrifying transfer, a blinding sacrifice. It was an energy source too volatile, too magnificent to be contained. But it worked. The hunger, momentarily quelled, was now fueled by the raw, unfettered power of the cosmos. And that power immediately alerted the galaxy's greatest consumer. High above, blotting out the stars, a massive shadow appeared. Galactus looked down upon the pathetic, consumed shell of Earth. He had arrived for the feast, only to find the crumbs scattered in dark energy pulsing where his herald should have been. The Devourer prepared to move on. But the swarm was no longer bound by gravity or morality. They had tasted true cosmic fuel. They didn't want the planet. They wanted the power that created planets. Like tiny, furious mosquitoes, the cosmically enhanced zombies struck the giant. What followed was the fastest, most horrific cosmic indigestion the universe had ever witnessed. The Devourer, who ate worlds, had failed to recognize the difference between a ripe meal and a deadly infection. He crumpled, his vast form dissolved into nothing but raw, stolen power. The hunger remained eternal, immense. The Earth was a forgotten corpse. The cosmos now was their boundless buffet. Fueled by the absorbed might of two cosmic entities, the swarm turned their gaze outward, tiny glittering pinpricks of blue and red, heading out to sample the stars.